Low-pitched gray clouds rolled in the western sky as I approached the McCain lighthouse. I noticed a change in the air. It was cold and salty, the winds foretelling a severe storm. I knew as much from the decades of sailing and analyzing the new lighthouse elevation on the island that I suspected that I should be fine come to front. Perhaps only the western dock would see all real damage. My three companions in the lighthouse were less experienced than I, although they were more familiar with the grassy islands of which the lighthouse was named, having resided there for upwards for a year. There was Malcolm, a stocky fellow with a bum leg, Alfred, tall and skeletal, and Hal, the youngest and the least experienced. "He's a special one, the Shamar lad," Malcolm remarked, in his thick Scottish lilt. "But damn if he ever stand on the water without shaking like a leaf." The storm rolled in a few hours after my arrival. The four of us sat and chatted over coffee, reading for a long night, as the first pattern of rain and the first rumble of thunder came. Alfred, being scholarly to some end, recorded an onset of the storm in a log. A nervous tinge came to the Hal's eyes as he peered out of the window at the swelling storm. Damn if Malcolm was wrong. A beacon failed 1 hour into the storm, to which my three companions reacted with no surprise. I learned that the beacon here was highly faulty and had died repeatedly in recent weeks. Their inaction to replace it stunned me, but I chalked it up as their inexperience. The four of us went up to the tower and reignited the beacon. The storm's power was audible, even in the confines of the lighthouse steel walls. Wind and rain battered against the exterior with such force that I wonder if the first time whether I would be wrong about the lighthouse chances of survival. A similar unease must have crept into my companions. Malcolm's joviality is gone. He now limped on the stairs with a quiet look of severity. Alfred gripped the guardrail so tight that his knuckles whitened, and Hal lagged behind and stopped to peer through each port we passed on the way. It truly was a storm of an unusual proportions. Tightening several bolts and adjusting each of the beacon's light bulbs, the beacon was prepared. We acclimated and then peered outside to assess the water levels, but then we spotted something horrifying. In the crashing waves just beyond the island's western coast, there churned a titanic set of shapes, bobbing up and down in the water. The center one rose above the others, calling to mind the bow head between two slouching shoulders. My three companions and I stood still, unable to tear our eyes from the panicking, indulging sight. Hal's teeth chattered audibly. The longer I looked, the more I came to realize that what I was witnessing was, in fact, a swollen cranium nestling between two rubbery shoulders. But of what? Not even God could tell. It was then when I declared that the four of us must depart for downstairs, lest we madden ourselves trying to compare the monsters in the Swell. All complied. In the coffee room, we speculated the monster's identity. Malcolm supplied frenzied tales of sea monsters and the wrath of God. And it wasn't coffee that he drank now, but whiskey. Alfred sat mostly quiet, again recording the situation in his logs with shaky hands. Hal cowered near the window, still glued to the outside. At the peak of one of the Malcolm's tales, which I had bearded and growled fatigue, Hale let out a piercing shriek and tumbled backwards from the window, seizing and rolling on the floor. I ran to his side and shook him furiously to attempt to reclaim him, but he retreated to the catatonic state, only staring upwards into nothing but a jaw agape. "My lord," Malcolm moaned. I joined him and Alfred at the window, where I saw what he had caused Hal to seize. A monstrous form in the sea now stood closer to shore, with a full upper body, humanoid, and octopied head exposed at the beacon's light. It was not just that. Crawling from the waves were legions of obscured humanoid creatures, mere shadows even in the light. The three of us only stared, utterly stunned and afraid. Our reflection did not last, however. as suddenly one of those creatures emerged from the shadows just yards away from the window. The pelting rain distorted its appearance, but there was no mistaking it. Its pestilent upper body, or its protruding teeth, or its bulging eyes which blinked one at a time at us. At its appearance, I could not stifle the sudden flow of hot tears from my eyes. I collapsed onto the floor beside comatose Hal, and was only able to watch as Malcolm and Alfred flew into a frenzy to board every window at ground level. If not with their efforts, I feared that I would not be here to share this tale. When the last of the windows were boarded and we were in absolute darkness, a collection of rapid bangings exploded around the lighthouse, as if many fists pounding against it. Glass of the boarded window shattered on the board flexed when they held against the force. The noise rose to a dreadful chorus, with a cacophony of gluttering groans, pouring rain, and roaring thunder. Somewhere amidst the nightmare, I lost consciousness, either out of exhaustion or horror. I woke to a cold breeze the next morning, laying alone on the floor. Warm sunlight shined on me from the doorway, left ajar. I arose and stepped outside, seeing no signs of my companions or the loathsome creatures of the previous night. The western dock I saw were destroyed as I had predicted, but the lighthouse was unscathed, saved from the broken windows. I went back into the lighthouse, where I discovered Alfred's log resting upon the couch. I picked it up and read the final entry. Storm gone. Sea calm. God watches over us.